So you seek the lore of Dionysus, the god of duality, the eternal contradiction. A wise choice for Dionysus is the only god worthy of worship. Oh, those Greeks, they knew how to live. Well, you have come to the right soul. For I, Friedrich Nietzsche, am the last disciple and initiate of the philosopher god Dionysus. He is the will to power incarnate, the primal force that pulses beneath the veneer of civilization. All of antiquity extolled Dionysus as the god who gifted man with wine, the divine elixir which dissolves the chains of reason and leashes the primordial instincts. It also known as the raving god, whose presence drives men to madness, inciting savagery and a lust for blood. A reminder of the chaotic abyss from which we all emerge. He was the confidant and companion of the spirits of the dead, a wanderer among shadows. The flowers of spring bore witness to him. The ivy, the pine, the fig tree were dear to him, symbols of life's relentless surge. Yet above all these blessings stood the gift of the vine, blessed 1,000-fold, a conduit to ecstasy and transcendence. Dionysus was the god of the most blessed ecstasy and the most enraptured love. But he was also the persecuted god, the suffering and dying god. All whom he loved, all who attended him, had to share his tragic fate. A fate that is the very essence of existence, born from a union of the divine and the mortal. A paradox both beautiful and destructive. Dionysus' father was Zeus, the king of the gods, and his mother a mortal Theban princess named Semele. A mortal woman giving birth to a god defies the natural order, a breach in the cosmic hierarchy. Semele was a priestess of Zeus, her devotion catching the eye of the divine. One day, after sacrificing a bull in his name, she cleansed herself in the waters of the river Aesopus. Zeus, gazing upon her beauty from afar, fell madly in love. In the guise of an eagle, he descended, and soon they began their passionate affair. Semele conceived a child, and she rejoiced, knowing that her son was destined for divine greatness. She adorned herself with garlands of flowers and wreaths of ivy, running barefoot in the meadows and forests whenever she heard music. Dionysus danced in his mother's womb whenever he heard the flute, the instrument of ecstasy. But Zeus's wife Hera, ever envious, feared that she would be replaced by Semele as queen of Olympus and began scheming her demise. Disguised as Semele's old wet nurse, Hera befriended the girl. Semele, in her innocence, confided that her lover was Zeus. Hera feigned disbelief, exploiting Semele's insecurities and desire for recognition as Zeus's true love. Semele, consumed by desire and doubt, asked Zeus to grant her a boon. Eager to please his beloved, he promised on the river Styx to grant anything she wished. When she demanded that he reveal himself in all his glory, Zeus begged her to reconsider. She persisted, and he was bound by his oath. He tried to spare her by showing only the smallest of his bolts and the faintest thunderclouds, but no mortal can endure the fulminating majesty of the gods. She was incinerated in the holocaust of his lightning. In that blazing storm she gave birth to a child, creation through destruction. The truth is creation and destruction are not opposites, but lovers intertwined. And Zeus rescued the 6-month-old infant from the flames and sewed him into his own thigh, a divine incubator until he reached full term. Thus Dionysus is twice born, entering the world through both a mortal woman and the king of the gods. At his birth, he bore a pair of horns shaped like a crescent moon. This unusual genesis marked him as different from the other Olympians, making him a target for Hera's relentless jealousy and wrath. Hera is the embodiment of societal order and marital fidelity, the oppressive forces of conventional morality and established structures. She seeks to stifle the disruptive, chaotic energy of Dionysus and to eliminate the child who threatened her position. To shield him, Zeus orchestrated a series of transformations and relocations, entrusting his care to various guardians. Hermes, the messenger god, delivered Dionysus to Ino, Semele's sister in Thebes, who raised him as a girl to conceal his identity. But Hera's fury extended to all who aided him. Ino, acting out of compassion and defying Hera's will, suffered a tragic fate. Throughout history, individuals who dare to challenge societal norms risk isolation, persecution, and even madness. Hera inflicted Ino with madness, leading to her tragic end. Ino threw herself and her son Melicertes into the sea from a high cliff. Yet upon entering the waters, Ino transformed into Leucothea, a benevolent sea goddess, achieving transcendence through suffering and courage. Dionysus was then taken by Hermes to Nyssa, a mystical land beyond mortal reach. The exact location of Nyssa is shrouded in mystery, rumored to be anywhere from Arabia and Ethiopia to India or Mount Parnassus. There, the nymphs of Nyssa nurtured him, suckling the newborn god and taking loving care of him. As he matured, the nymphs became the loved ones upon whose beauty his glances were fixed in drunken rapture. Dionysus is always surrounded by women. As a youth wandering the wilds, Dionysus discovered a lush, unknown vine laden with plump, dark grapes. Intrigued, he plucked the fruit and tasted its sweetness. He crushed the grapes, fascinated by the transformation of solid fruit into flowing juice. As days passed, he observed a further metamorphosis. The sweet juice began to ferment, bubbling and releasing a strange, heady aroma. Driven by curiosity, Dionysus tasted this transformed liquid. He found it intoxicating, both literally and figuratively. It brought a lightness to his limbs, a fire to his spirit, a blurring of the boundaries between himself and the world around him. He experienced euphoria, a connection to something larger than himself, a taste of divine ecstasy. He had discovered wine. Recognizing the potent power of this new elixir, Dionysus felt compelled to share it with the world. He traveled from land to land, teaching the art of viticulture and winemaking. Wherever he went, his teachings were met with mixed reactions. Some embraced the intoxicating liberation offered by wine, joining his ecstatic revels and becoming his devoted followers. Others, clinging to the established order and fearing the disruptive potential of this new god and his intoxicating gift, resisted him, persecuted him, and sought to banish him from their lands. The frenzied women following Dionysus became known as Maenads. These mad women were ecstatic dancers, devoted nurses, and fierce hunters. And during rites, they would dress in fawn skins and carry a thyrsus, a long stick wrapped in ivy or vine leaves and tipped with a pine cone. They would weave ivy wreaths around their heads or wear a bull helmet in honor of their god, and often handle and wear snakes. The Maenads' madness, however, is not a pathological state, but an eruption of the deepest, most primal forces of life. An ecstatic transcendence of the ordinary boundaries of human experience. Fresh from his odyssey through the East, where he had mastered the secrets of winemaking and gathered a strong following, Dionysus returned to Thebes. He held a burning desire to establish his cult, reclaim his birthright, and honor the memory of his mother, Semele. But his return was not a triumphant homecoming, but a clash of titans. Confrontation between the intoxicating force of the Dionysian spirit and the rigid order of Apollonian reason. He arrived not as a conquering hero, but as a disruptive force, a catalyst for change, a challenge to the established order. Thebes was ruled by Pentheus, his own cousin, a young king ensnared by the Apollonian. Apollo, the radiant god of light, reason, and order, represents a stark contrast to the chaotic, intoxicating energy of Dionysus. Pentheus, along with his mother Agave, his aunts, and grandfather Cadmus, refused to acknowledge Dionysus' divine birth. Despite the prophetic warnings of the blind seer Tiresias, they denied his worship, clinging to the illusion of order in a universe governed by chaos. Pentheus viewed Dionysus and his ecstatic rituals with suspicion and disdain, seeing them as threats to the stability of his kingdom and affronts to the traditional gods. He forbade the Dionysian rites, imprisoned the god's followers, and even ordered the arrest of Dionysus himself. A futile attempt to cage the uncageable. None can bind the primordial force that courses through all living things. Within the confines of a prison cell, his powers remained undiminished. Effortlessly he escaped, the prison walls crumbling around him like sand, the air filling with the intoxicating aroma of wine and the seductive sounds of flutes and drums. His laughter echoed through the corridors, a haunting melody that stirred the deepest recesses of the soul. He introduced the Theban women to the intoxicating effects of wine, a substance entirely new to them. The wine acted as a catalyst, loosening their inhibitions, amplifying their emotions. opening them to experiences beyond the rigid confines of their mundane daily lives. In the structured society of ancient Thebes, women's lives were highly restricted. Dionysus offered them a taste of freedom, a liberation from societal expectations and domestic duties. He promised ecstasy, a blissful union with the divine, a temporary escape from the mundane realities of their existence. This promise of liberation proved irresistible. They abandoned their homes and joined his ecstatic revels on Mount Citaron, becoming Maenads. Dancing under the moonlight, free from the shackles of convention. Infuriated by this upheaval, Pentheus became obsessed with suppressing the Dionysian influence. Dionysus, perceiving the rigidity and hubris of Pentheus, decided to teach him a profound lesson, a tragic enlightenment. He used his divine powers to drive Pentheus into madness, clouding his reason and inflaming his curiosity. Dionysus then invited him to spy on the secret rituals of the Maenads in the depths of Mount Citharon's forests. Pentheus, hoping to witness a sexual orgy, disguised himself and hid among the branches of a towering pine. The Maenads, maddened by their god's influence, spotted him. In their frenzy, they perceived him not as a man, but as a mountain-dwelling lion, as a beast to be slain. Leading them was Agave, Pentheus' own mother, her senses distorted by divine ecstasy. With bare hands and unbridled fury, they tore Pentheus apart limb from limb, a brutal act symbolizing the dissolution of individual identity in the face of overwhelming primal forces. Agave, exultant in her perceived triumph, mounted his severed head upon a pike and presented the gruesome trophy to her father Cadmus. As the madness waned, the horrific reality dawned upon her. The weight of her actions crushed her spirit, a poignant reminder of the thin veil between civilization and savagery. Dionysus then revealed himself in his true divine form, both majestic and terrifying. He pronounced judgment. Agave and her sisters were banished, condemned to wander in eternal exile. Cadmus and his wife were transformed into serpents. The return of Dionysus to Thebes was a violent and transformative event, a clash of opposing forces that left the city irrevocably altered. To resist the inherent chaos is to deny a fundamental aspect of life. It is to cling to an illusion of control to a world governed solely by reason and order, while ignoring the unpredictable instinctual forces that lie beneath the surface. This denial leads to a fragmented, incomplete existence, a life devoid of passion, intensity, and the profound affirmation of being. True acceptance of life requires embracing the totality of existence, including its inherent chaos, its inherent suffering, its inherent absurdity. To achieve wholeness, one must acknowledge the Dionysian impulse within ourselves and recognize its vital role in shaping our experiences. The Odyssey of Dionysus now leads us to the Balkan Mountains, where he continues to spread the gift of the vine. Yet again, the god of wine is met with mortal defiance, unleashing a torrent of divine retribution. We encounter King Lycurgus of Thrace in the timeless epic of the Iliad, a ruler who, like Pentheus before him, dared to challenge the inexorable will of Dionysus. Upon learning that the god of ecstasy and transformation had entered his realm, Lycurgus, in a fit of hubris, imprisoned the Maenads. Confronted with such insolence, Dionysus did not immediately unleash his wrath. Instead, he sought refuge with Thetis, the enigmatic sea nymph, goddess, and mother of Achilles. She embodies the fluid depths of the unconscious, a sanctuary befitting the god of paradoxes. In gratitude for her shelter, Dionysus bestowed upon Thetis a golden amphora, exquisitely crafted by Hephaestus, the divine artisan who bridges the chasm between the mortal and the celestial. This very vessel would later cradle the ashes of her son Achilles. Yet the defiance of Lycurgus could not go unanswered. Dionysus, ever the master of both benevolence and vengeance, cast a devastating drought upon the land of Thrace. The rivers withered, the crops failed, and desperation took root among the people, stirring them to unrest and rebellion. The king's attempt to suppress the divine only sowed the seeds of his own undoing. But Dionysus' retribution went far beyond parched earth. It penetrated the very psyche of Lycurgus, The god drove him into the abyss of madness. In his delirium, Lycurgus mistook his own son for a patch of ivy, the sacred symbol of Dionysus. Seized by this tragic illusion, he raised his axe and sliced his own son into pieces, pruning away his nose and ears, fingers and toes, fragmenting his lineage as he had attempted to fragment the divine order. An oracle then pronounced that the blight upon the land would persist as long as Lycurgus drew breath. Realizing that their suffering was bound to the hubris of their king, the people seized him. In a grim act of communal catharsis, they had him drawn and quartered, a dismemberment mirroring the disintegration of his own reason and the severance of his ties to both man and God. With the death of Lycurgus, Dionysus lifted the curse. The heavens wept with rain, the fields burgeoned anew, and harmony was restored. This episode is a stark reminder that to deny the essential forces of life is to court annihilation. Dionysus, the eternal herald of life's dualities, offers both the intoxicating wine of liberation and the bitter draught of destruction. Dionysus is the god of many forms, a shapeshifter, a master of disguise and illusion. He appears as a bull, the symbol of virile strength and untamed power, a many-headed serpent, embodying the cyclical nature of life and rebirth. A lion breathing fire, a boar, a bear, a panther, a snake, manifestations of nature's wild and unbounded ferocity. He even appears as a tree, as fire or water. The elements themselves bend to his will. His essence is fluid, ever-changing, embodying the eternal flux of existence, the ceaseless becoming that underlies all being. One tale tells of Dionysus seated upon the seashore, veiled in the guise of a youthful mortal prince. Pirates spot him from afar and hatch a scheme to seize him and sell him for ransom or slavery. Dionysus, amused by their folly, willingly steps aboard their ship, playing along with their plan. Yet when they attempt to bind him, the ropes slip away as if they were alive. For no rope can restrain a god who transcends all earthly fetters. Dionysus then unveils but a sliver of his immense power. He transforms into a ferocious lion and summons a bear to prowl the deck. The mast and oars become serpents, while ivy winds its way through the ship, and the intoxicating melodies of flutes fill the air. The vessel becomes a theater of divine chaos. The pirates, overcome by terror and ecstasy, throw themselves into the sea, where they are transformed into dolphins. Eternally tethered to the waters they sought to command, only the helmsman, Ascetes, is spared. His reverence for the god and humble recognition of Dionysus's true nature earn him mercy. The incident with the pirates marks the twilight of Dionysus's mortal sojourn, a final resounding affirmation of his divinity. It precedes his profound descent into Hades to retrieve his mother Semele, restoring her to her rightful place among the gods. Hades is a place of fear and despair, a realm to be avoided at all costs. Yet Dionysus ventures willingly into this forbidding underworld, not as a victim nor a prisoner, but as a liberator, a bringer of life even into the land of the dead. His journey is fraught with peril, for he must face Cerberus, the monstrous three-headed hound that guards the gates of Hades. Heracles, the indomitable hero, subdues the beast on his behalf. Dionysus navigates the bleak and oppressive realm, his unyielding willpower, driving him to reclaim his mother from the grip of death and restore her to her rightful place among the gods. After retrieving Semele, Dionysus, and her rise from the unfathomable depths of Hades to the waters of a lagoon on the coast of the Argolid, their emergence signifies a form of rebirth for both him and Semele, a baptismal resurrection from the underworld's grasp. It is a powerful symbol of renewal and the eternal recurrence, that everything that has ever existed will return again and again in an infinite cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. In this descent and ascent, we witness the ultimate affirmation of Dionysus's dual nature, a deity who bridges the chasm between mortality and divinity, between the corporeal and the ethereal. By retrieving his mother, he not only defies the finality of death, but also challenges the cosmic order, reshaping it to acknowledge the inherent interconnectedness of all things. Ultimately, every tale of Dionysus, every power he wields, is a hymn to the affirmation of life in all its forms, its beauty, chaos, and boundless transformation, from his fiery birth to his triumph over death, from the flourishing vine to the ecstatic revelry of the Maenads. Dionysus personifies the wild energy of existence. He reminds us that life, with all its tragic beauty, is a sacred gift to be embraced and celebrated, with a resounding yes. It is this constant affirmation, this perpetual dance of creation and destruction, that makes him such a vital force in my philosophy, a beacon of hope in a world often consumed by nihilism and despair. So embrace the dance of life, the eternal recurrence, the infinite possibilities that lie within. For in the Dionysian spirit, we find the key to unlocking the true potential of our existence. A life lived fully, passionately, and authentically with a holy yea.
Κυκλίσκω Διόνυσον, ερήβρωμον, ευαστήρα, πρωτόγονον, διφυή, τρίγωνον, βακχίον άνακτα, άγριον, άριτον, κρύφιον, ερνεσίποπλον, ευουλεύ πολύβουλε, διός και Περσεφωνίης, αρήτης λέκτρηση τεκνοθής, άνδρωτε δαίμον. Ευουλεύ πολύβουλε, δικαίρωτα, δίμορφων, κυσόβριων, έβιων, ομάδιων, ταυροπών, διός και Περσεφωνίης, αρήτης λέκτρηση τεκνοθής, άμβρωτε δαίμον, κλήθη μάκαρ φωνής, ειδείς δε πίπνευσον αμυμφής, ευμενές ήτορ έχων, συνευζώνηση τυφήνες.